And we're back. Hello, everybody. What's up? I'm Jay with Guilty of Crime and another day. Happy Tuesday, everybody. What's up? Come on in. Do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Get a membership if you can. Y'all know the deal. Let's go. Come on, let's get hyped. Now, this is another sad case. A lot of people are asking to get the record straight. Get the facts out. What happened, Jay? It's all over the place, right? This case is all over the place. And the bottom line is we need justice for Johnathan Boley. All right. So I'm going to put this up there so you can see this little guy. What does justice mean in this case when something like this happens and we only have bits and pieces to put together? Well, we put the pieces together and then we stand behind it and watch, hopefully, his father get prosecuted for more than what he's been arrested for, because this is unacceptable. This little guy, Johnathan Boley, listen, man, his dad, he did the worst thing possible in my opinion, and that's why I came on here. When I saw this little guy and I saw that outcome and I posted it and I saw all the things everywhere, I said we gotta cover Johnathan Boley. He may have possibly been found alive if those explosives weren't out there, and you'll see what I mean. Some people say it didn't affect, and some people say it do. Some of you guys don't even know about this case, or you've only seen bits and pieces, because this little boy, 4-year-old Johnathan Boley, was found with his dog by his side, no longer alive. Now, the search crews went out there, and they're big search crews, drones, dogs, things that they don't typically do in the beginning. They did, but they had to call off the search because his dad, which we now know has been arrested, but not necessarily in the connection of the death of this little guy. All right. But we now know that he has a past history. We now know that Jonathan's mom made several reports and nothing happened. They still handed little Johnathan Boley over to his monster of a father. All right. So we're going to get into this case today, guys. We're going to jump to we're going to go down so I can tell you what happened, since we already started out with, did the explosives hinder finding Johnathan Boley alive? He was found dead with his dog. His dog stayed where he was, which really, really just, it boggles my mind that the dog stayed there. It boggles my mind that the explosives were going off and they had to stop, and the dog was next to the boy. All right. That's man's best friend. But in these circumstances, his dad should have not only done more, but he should have done a lot more. So when I call this episode what I call it, we call it, and I'm literally, it's booby traps, pipe bombs, and meth. I shit you not. That's what this case is about. And that's what booby traps, pipe bombs, and meth contributed to in the death of Johnathan Boley. All right. So let's get into it. Let me say hello to everybody. I just jumped ahead because I'm going to start from the beginning of what happened so that you understand how this young man lost his life. And we'll go through the timeline, and then we'll do they just did a press conference yesterday to update. We've got the autopsy findings, what they say. And then we have a lot more details. There's a vigil I'm going to show you what people are saying. And then his dad is set for a preliminary hearing for this case. So yes, the body was found. A lot of people said to me, Jay, I don't even know what happened. His body was found, but tell me the story. Well, I can't tell you the story until I'm able to really present it to you. So today we're here to present Johnathan Boley. Would he still be alive if his dad had not had pipe bombs where they had to stop the search? All right. This little guy was out there freezing and cold and terrible. I'm sure he was scared, and they stopped searching because the dad. And yeah, the dad, if you look at the charges, and we're going to talk about that, we're going to talk about the chemicals and the distribution of methamphetamines. Absolutely one man's trash. We're literally talking booby traps, pipe bombs, and methamphetamines. All right. I mean, this case can't get much worse, right? I mean, we lost a beautiful little child. Many didn't even know he was 4. It kept going back and forth, 4 or 5. Nobody knew a lot about this case. And we still have yet to see all the information coming in, right? He is a minor, so the autopsy is limited on what they give you. Angel of Truth, good to see you. How you doing? Shoot for the stars. How are you? Happy Tuesday, everybody. What's up? April, good to see you. Connie, Patricia. I mean, this whole thing. What's up, Patricia? We're going to Vegas for Crime Con. Who else is going? All right. Julie Bug says, choo choo. How you doing, Maggie? Good to see you. All right, guys, we're going to get into it. You guys hit that like button, subscribe, sign up for Ghost. When you ask me, Jay, what's the case about? And you have no idea. Usually we've posted it on Ghost, and I just haven't been able to present the case yet. It's free to sign up, and only if you want to support, then you can get documents and pictures and things that you won't get anywhere else. Or you will, but you have to find it. So, that being said, let's get into this episode, Finding Johnathan Boley. All right, and what happened in this case? What's up, Holly? Good to see you once again. There probably shouldn't have been a visitation. Absolutely, and probably is an understatement when I show you what this father did previously, what the mother did previously to keep him away, and the outcome. All right, the outcome is just it's not what we wanted, and I think that with this outcome and how the search was handled and how it stopped, you guys, I'm telling you, when you're on a critical path for searching for somebody, right? You're on a critical path and you're doing a search for a child that you only have the first 72 hours, and then after that you're looking at either a body or just looking at the death of rather than recovery, and they have to stop in the middle of that time frame, then we have a problem. All right, so let's get into it, guys. You just wait. You guys are gonna not be happy about anything in this case today. The warning signs were there, the red flags were there, the mom tried, and it still ended up this way. Wesley, good to see you, my friend. Teresa, how you doing? Hit that like button, guys. All right, guys, let's just get into it. So those that don't know anything about the case, we're going to start here, and then I will move. Well, we're going to fast forward and tell you everything in detail. All right, so let me just start with the quick. I'm gonna narrate this for you. All right, just quickly narrate, and then we'll get into everything else. A 4-year-old boy, Johnathan Everett, Boley, he went missing from a rural property near Jasper in Walker County, Alabama, on New Year's Eve this year, when we were all celebrating December 31st, 2025. He went missing. Now, after a multi-day search, his body was recovered. His dog Duke was next to it, and the investigation remains active as of January 6, 2026. All right. Now, I'm going to tell you the details. You guys can sit back and chat, sit back and ask questions. I promise you, I'm going to answer the questions. Probably even more questions will be answered as I present this than they would normally. So there's a lot today. We're going to go over the background of the dad, who the mom is, what happened, and what the autopsy findings say, and what's next for this monster of a dad. Father was arrested amid the investigation, guys. He literally was arrested, and I thought they would have arrested him because of his baby boy being found dead. But no, that's not why he was arrested. He was arrested because of his shenanigans, the booby traps, pipe bombs, and methamphetamines that he was producing. All right. So again, this should have never happened. May he rest in peace. All right. I'm going to tell you guys, listen, this happened off of Highway 195. And don't worry, I'm going to give you guys visuals. I just want to run through the story so y'all know what happened. All right. For those that aren't caught up, 195 Highway, Jasper, Walker County, Alabama, right? Johnathan Everett Boley, age 4. described in reports as blonde, adventurous boy who loved the outdoors. Now, his family dog Buck was with him and later found alive beside his dead body. All right. Now, the breakdown of this search is it drives me crazy that this happened. And I do believe it affected him, whether he was alive or the fact that we found him dead. Now, on New Year's Eve, multiple outlets reported that Johnathan was last seen walking away from his father's property. I'm going to show you guys some drones while visiting family. One local report gives a last seen time of 11:30 a.m. on December 31st, on that Wednesday. Now, authorities and family quickly raised the alarm when he could not be located. So they did the right things. Let's go out there and look. Okay, now December 31st to New Year's, the search is mobilized. Local, county, and state law enforcement joined volunteers, canine teams, and aerial assets to search the wooded area around the property. Now, the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency and Walker County were publicly involved in the search effort. You'll see there's lots of different press conferences, lots of updates. Now, the search was suspended on nearly day one because law enforcement suspended the public volunteer search for Johnathan Boley, literally not even a day later, after investigators discovered explosive devices and other hazardous materials, guys, aka meth production, near the search area. So you're talking the first 24 hours, the most important critical times where you need to find that person to make sure that they're alive, to make sure that they're not starving, to make sure that they're not freezing, especially a 4-year-old boy. And the search was called off. Now, at this time, I thought that they had found a body, but no, they did not find a body. The specialized team and FBI are now brought in to an even bigger search to secure the scene, and law enforcement shifted that to a controlled, specialist led response team. Now, we got volunteer people searching for 4 years old. They say 5. They had to suspend that due to the safety of the searchers. Now, that's right in the middle. He goes missing December 31st, right? And by the next day on New Year's, the search is called off. But that's it. January 2nd, we hadn't found anything. Authorities announced that they had located Johnathan and confirmed he was deceased. Now we're at 48 plus hours here, and they found him on it would have been day 2 of the search, but now it got stopped because of they literally say he had booby traps and pipe bombs for people walking around. Now, many of those pipe bombs weren't active, but they needed to take action, and the action they took was to stop searching. So on January 2nd, a day after they stopped, little Johnathan Boley was found 2 miles away, 2 miles from his father's home in a wooded area with his dog Buck alive and beside him. Now, officials described the discovery as bringing a tragic end to the search. Walker County said the investigation was ongoing into the father. And so you say, did he get arrested for that? What happened, Jay? Well, reports indicate that Jonathan's piece of shit father, Jameson we're just going to call him Jameson Boley, was arrested on explosive related charges and child endangerment counts in the connection with the case. Now, media coverage tied the arrest to the broader investigation into the circumstances surrounding his death. But when you see the actual charges and we talk about what's next, it's not really related to him being not alive anymore. Now, we're only on January 3rd. The body's found, the dog's found alive, Jonathan's found dead, and his dad's arrested on unrelated charges. Now, they arrested him when they had to stop the search because of the booby traps and the pipe bombs, as well as the methamphetamine production. Now, January 4th through the 6th, the ongoing investigation and community response. We see local officials continuing with the pressers, giving out as much information, reviewing the evidence. Community vigils and remembrances were reported in Florida and Alabama as the family and neighbors mourned. So as of today, January 6th, we're still looking into the case. The autopsy findings have came out, case status. It's very, very active. If anyone knows anything, you see something, say something, you know something, do something. All right. So father was arrested on explosives and child endangerment. Further charges or prosecutorial decisions may follow as investigators and prosecutors review the evidence. All right. So we hope that that's the case. We hope that they tighten up those charges and make them stick, because right now he's looking at anywhere from between 2 years to 99 years, which is ridiculous. Now, John Boley, the little boy, 4 years old. All right. We've got him, and his name's John as a nickname. And then he's got a little brother. Now, the little brother was seen out at the search, and many of you guys following that, let's say with Dolly saw the brother and thought that they had found little Johnathan, but it wasn't. It was the mom going to the search, and she brought his brother, who looked almost identical to him. All right. So common mistake that could have happened. It's just, this case is just crazy. So we're looking now at mom, Angel Boley, and father Jameson. All right. Now, Jameson he had Johnathan at the time he was in his care. He only gets 5 days of visitation a year. And this is what happens. All right. So we're going to look at Jameson Boley and Angel Boley. Who are these people, and what is it that we know about them, or what we should know about them? All right. Well, let me just tell you real quick. Angel Boley, his mom, was not trying to give Johnathan or John to the dad. She reported many times about about his father, all right, previous protective orders, and still nothing happened. Now, we're going to go and look at him closer and see the different protective orders and filings against Jameson, all right, Jameson, Johnathan's father. Now, the reports following Johnathan's death, it indicated a history of concern. All right. In 2021, there was a protective order from John's mom. She reportedly filed a protective order. This was 5 years ago. Now, this was for fear for safety. In her filings, she expressed the fear that he might kill her or their children. So the report suggested that Jameson was previously restricted to only 5 days a year. Now, some secondary reports claim Angel described a past incident where Jameson fled the state in another child in his care and was found unresponsive and later passed away of a heart contusion. So this is number 2 child that is now deceased that has been in the care of Jameson. You heard that right. And we're going to look at that. I also see reports of a fact, and they say that Johnathan's dad is also a pedophile. I don't have that, but I'm going to talk about it just a bit. I don't have the documentation. I do have reports, but we'll get to it. What's up, Mab? Good to see you. All right, let me drop a clip down, and then I'll get to the next one, since I've been reading for a little bit, and I know you guys are visual like I am. How's everybody doing today? What's up? Come on in, guys. Hit that like button. Let's go. Get hyped up. Y'all are my chat's moving slow. I don't know if that's the internet or what. All right, but let's take a look at this body of 4-year-old found dead. Let's get the official report, and we'll do some information. We'll give more information and details on this case. All right. Good to see you guys. Kristen says, I'm confused then. What are the kids' ages? Because if it was 5 years ago then. All right. Well, let's keep going, Kristen. It's not confusing. The protective order was against the husband to her. It had nothing to do. John's name wasn't in that report. Now, we just started, Kristen. We're only 20 minutes in, and I haven't given you any visual timeline. So stay here, and we'll hopefully get some answers. Should have had supervised anytime he had John. Now, listen, this is the second child in his care that's deceased now. All right. So keep that in mind with the protective orders and the past history, which I'm going to show you after this. Oh my God, it's not even really cold in California, but the internet sucks. How's your internet, guys? All right, listen, we're going to move back to January 2nd. All right, body of missing 4-year-old found, and I'm going to give you the basic details and the people in the story. All right, let's get to it.
News starts now with breaking news.
It's with great sadness that I'm here to announce that we have located Johnathan, and Johnathan is deceased.
After more than 48 hours of being missing, the search for a young boy in Walker County has taken a tragic turn.
Now, keep that in mind. 48 hours of him going missing. The very first critical hours are the first 48. After 72 hours, you're most likely looking for a body. Kathleen, how you doing? A member for 11 months. Thank you. Let's get that in there, guys. Choo choo. Happy New Year to you, my friend. What's up, Disco? It's been a while. Good to see you, my friend. All right, let's keep going. And we got a lot today.
Afternoon, I'm Carla Wade.
And I'm Brittany Decker. Authorities believe Johnathan Boley wandered off on New Year's Eve. He was last seen around 11:30 that morning, right near Highway 195 in Jasper.
And they say that the 4-year-old was with his older brother and a dog. And just a couple of hours ago, the Walker County Sheriff said Boley was found dead, but his dog Buck is alive.
Now listen, the older brother and his dog. So Kristen, if you're still here, I'm going to tell you right now that they don't put all the kids' information out there, but listen, Johnathan was 4, I think coming up on 5 because they keep confusing it. And they said his older brother, which I saw in the news media. I saw when I'm looking at Mab, when Dolly saw the mom get out of the car with the older brother that also looked like he had long hair, maybe about 2 years older, which would be equivalent to 5 years ago, a protective order from the kids. All right. So I promise this all makes sense.
Coverage this afternoon. There is a vigil planned tonight, and we have new details about the boy's father, who has now been charged with child endangerment and manufacturing a destructive device.
Let's get right out to WVTM 13's Lisa Crane, who is live in Walker County this evening. Lisa, just a really sad day for the community there. Of course, not the outcome that people were hoping for.
No, there was a lot of hope in this community that the searchers would find 4-year-old John alive. And it was very upsetting and heartbreaking, as you can imagine, to all those who had volunteered in that search, that this little boy, that was not the outcome that we saw here today. Now, almost 200 volunteers showed up over the past 48 hours to search for little John Boley, as well as the FBI, SBI, and law enforcement firefighters, too, from across the state. They used a helicopter, ATV, and drones to scan this heavily wooded and rural area. Today, they expanded their search, saying because John might have been following his dog Buck, he could have gotten much further away from home.
John and Buck being together, and if he's following Buck, then there's no telling how far they could have traveled.
And listen, they did find Buck ultimately with little John. Buck was just chilling with his boy, and John was no longer alive. Remember, for 20 months, love you, just had chemo, kisses and hugs to you. Keep going. Do it. All right. What's up, Annie Jean? Good to see you. All right. Listen, his dad, we're going to get into what he was charged for, but I got to tell you, the court records show that Jameson was arrested on an explosive related charge. It gets murky. He was also charged with chemical endangerment of a child, as well as unlawful manufacturing of a destructive device or bacteriological weapon. I never read that. Bacteria. Does anyone know what a bacteriological weapon is? Maybe that's a pipe bomb. So look, his charges: unlawful manufacturing of a destructive device, charges of chemical endangerment of a child, and explosive. Now, in some of the pictures I saw, possibly, and I'm thinking, methamphetamines. All right. Thank you. Sending some love, Jay. Appreciate you. Thank you for the $5 super sticker. And Foxy Amazon, that $4.20 for your brother, Christopher. Thank you. All right. Now, listen, hold on. The mother tried to get away from this. She did everything she could. Johnathan's parents were separated and still are. Now, his mother moved to Florida last year under their custody agreement, and Johnathan's father was allowed 5 days per year The mother would travel to Alabama on Wednesday evening. She's been cooperating with investigators. He went missing on Wednesday, and investigators brought in the FBI because of the pipe bombs and booby traps. All right, let's keep going.
But like I said, if you just look at stories across the state and the nation where children wander off, especially with the companion, canines, they wander off 2, 3 miles, 4 miles.
He was found 2 miles.
And we now know that John's body was found about 2 miles away from his home. His dog Buck there alive and still by his side. Now we want to bring in WVTM 13's Zoe Blair with me now. And Zoe, I know you've been covering this story now for a couple of days, but there had been a prayer vigil planned at the church here, Cornerstone Church here, before we found the body, but they're still going to have that prayer vigil.
Absolutely, Lisa. Originally the vigil was supposed to be for them to pray that he was found, and he was found, but now it's going to be praying for support for his family. They're also going to be taking up donations this evening just to help the family with anything they need during this time. It's obviously very heartbreaking for this community, very heartbreaking for this family. And this community has really come together over the past few days during this search. Like you said, I've been out here. There were well over 100 volunteers out here searching yesterday. I know there were a lot back out.
And can you imagine being out on a search and the search crew say, "Stop, there's booby traps, it might explode. Let's come back in 24 hours, the most crucial part of the search." We've got the resources out there. We've got the dogs. We've got different law enforcement agencies. And then the FBI joins. All right. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there.
Here this morning as well. They've been donating food, water types, things like that for the volunteers, all kinds of things to support this community. And I know they're coming together again tonight. Lots of different churches, several different churches from the area are going to be here praying for the family and just doing what they can to support them.
Yeah, we saw that. So many people coming together. As the sheriff said, couldn't have been more proud of this community coming together, kind of forgetting any differences they might have had, all hoping for a really positive outcome. And they did have the outcome that they had asked for, to find him. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
not the way any of us wanted to have that happen. Zoe, thank you so much. Now, in the first few hours of the search yesterday, authorities reported possible explosive devices at Jamison Boley's home. Now, that slowed down the efforts in those first few hours around the home.
Listen, it slowed the efforts. They better charge this guy additionally with, I can't even give you the best charges for him. They need to charge him heavily, and they should make him pay back for all the search efforts. But more than anything, they could have found him. Right, Stacy? They could have found him. He was only 2 miles away, guys. 2 miles away with his dog that was alive and well, and they stopped the search freaking in the first 24 hours. I told you the first 48 is the most critical. I cannot believe that. I really can't. Like that just, if that didn't happen, I think he'd be alive, guys. I really do.
For more on that part of the story, we want to go back to the studio now. WBTM 13's Michael Higdon on that breaking news desk now. And Michael, the father is now facing a few criminal charges. What can you tell us about that?
Jamison Kyle Boley is facing 3 charges against him in connection with officials finding explosives on his property during the search for his missing child. He is charged with unlawful manufacture of a destructive device or a bacteriological weapon. He's also facing 2 counts of chemical endangerment of a child, alleging he knowingly or recklessly caused or permitted a child to be exposed to a controlled substance.
Okay, so listen, guys, that controlled substance that we're talking about is, in fact, methamphetamines. So not only did he have chemicals to produce and make and probably take methamphetamines, but he also had pipe bombs. So he had explosives and he had chemicals that endangered that little 4-year-old boy. All right. Darlene, good to see you, my friend. Me too. When they called off the search initially, guys, I thought they had found little Johnathan. But in fact, all they found were booby traps, which stopped all searchings. I'm telling you guys, 2 miles away, that would have been an easy fix. And I'll tell you what happened after this.
In court documents as methamphetamine. The Walker County Sheriff said today, though, those charges were secondary to him and that Boley had been cooperating and providing details that helped in this search. We were also told by the Walker County Sheriff that Boley was a former military member. The Army confirming today Boley did serve in their branch from March of 2003 through November of 2006. They could not disclose any discharge information. Brittany.
Michael, thanks so much. Of course, we're going to continue to stay stay on top of this story, as again, authorities say the 4-year-old boy was found dead. We're going to give you the very
All right, and there's going to be a press conference here in a bit. We're going to get into that. It's really detailed, so I got to get you on to that. Let's find out what the body said. How did he die? I see people in here saying, what about drones? What about oh, they had drones. I'm going to show you the drone coverage, as a matter of fact, so you can see this little guy, you guys, this little guy was 2 miles away.
latest information as soon as it becomes available to us. We have the press conferences.
That's nothing. 2 miles away is nothing. They absolutely could have found him. They had drones, they had dogs, they had local law enforcement, they had outside law enforcement, and they had FBI. What hindered this case was his father and them having to stop the search so that the search and rescue crews didn't get blown up or endangered by any of this stuff that he had out there. All right, so let's I'm going to talk to you about the trauma and what, about the body, right? How did he die? What did he have any chemicals in his system? What? I mean, how did they find him? He could have been found so much sooner, Shadow. The first 24 hours they halted the search. The first 48 hours, you guys all know, is the most crucial. They had everything out there. All right, so listen, this came yesterday at 12:15 p.m. No signs of trauma or assault were found in association with the death of 4-year-old Johnathan Boley. During the investigation on the disappearance of 4-year-old Johnathan Boley, officials found no signs, guys, during the autopsy. And again, it's just preliminary. They haven't put it out, but everywhere in the preliminary, it says back to back to back, they didn't find signs of assault and they didn't find signs of trauma in the death of Johnathan Boley. Now, last Friday, Johnathan was found dead only 2 miles outside of his home on Highway 195 in Jasper. He had last been seen walking into the woods with Buck on New Year's Eve that Tuesday afternoon. Now, Sheriff Nick Smith said Boley's body was partially in a body of water with his dog alive and next to him. All right. So that gives you an indication of how he died. All right. It gives you an indication when he's in a puddle or a pond of water, he probably drowned. Now, Sadie's mama, I know you're all for this. You want to find out what happened with the autopsy, and this is what they're giving me. This is what they're telling me. The preliminary hearing of the autopsy on every report says they didn't find signs of trauma or assault to his body, but he was found his body partially in a body of water with his dog next to him, right? No cause of death has been determined in this case. We can only guess. It says we do not have an official cause of death, but we can rule out that there were no signs of trauma or assault type of injuries. All right, we're going to get into the press conference and you'll see a little more. Now, Boley's father, Jameson, is currently being held in Walker County on outstanding warrants regarding 2 counts of chemical endangerment and unlawful manufacturing of a destructive device. Jameson was arrested the day before his son was found, and that was after they located explosive materials on his property. All right. I don't know why he was putting booby traps, what the heck the deal was, but he did. Smith said Jameson Boley's charges were not, and I'm repeating that, not related to Jonathan's death. And then we'll get into this here in a bit. I'm not ready for the press conference yet. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, it is vague. It is, but we're going to get into it. We'll find out. I wonder if that baby did get into the chemicals and perish later. We'll see. We haven't got the toxicology. When they waited, why did they have to send a bomb squad? They didn't send a bomb squad in. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's look back at his mom. Let's take a look at his mom and who she is. And then we'll take a look at the dad. And then we'll get further into the details of how his body was found by law enforcement. All right. So let's take a look, guys. Listen, here are the children. All right. This is little Johnathan Boley and brother. So I'm going to assume This is older brother, and I'm going to assume this is Johnathan. If you look here, this is the mother, Angel Boley, and you can see why Dolly possibly would have thought that they had found him. Did anybody go out? Did anybody see Dolly's coverage when he was out there in Alabama? Well, there was helicopters circling where they found the body, and he had said, "Oh no, they're stopping. They must have found him, and I think that's him alive." Well, when you look at both of those boys with the long hair and blonde curly and the height, they look almost identical. All right. So I can see where that came in. Now, I'm glad you guys were watching that. Good. All right. So this is the mom, and I feel for her. I really do. They did not serve her best with to protect this little boy, Johnathan. All right, so that's a mom here, and Angel Boley. Anyone in the area, the missing child, she posted, right? January 1st, she's telling people that they're looking for Johnathan Boley in the search of Highway 195. It has cameras in the woods. Please check them, right? She's going crazy. Everyone's praying for mama. This is the day he went missing, on December 31st, all right? And there he is right there. Now, that's a good picture. That's a good picture of the embodiment of this child. You guys say 444, and I say a prayer. Say a prayer that this little boy gets the justice he deserves. All right, thank you. That picture that picture is beautiful. Prayers for him and prayers for the family. Cheryl, thank you for gifting a membership to Guilty of Crime. If you got that membership, please thank her. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. We got to look at Dad, and Dad is a little lot worse. There's a lot more info. All right, so Mom did the best she could, in my opinion. I love that she had this day spring camp and conference center. This is what she was running. I can look into that for a while, but that was I think it's a daycare. That's where she worked, I guess. Guest service director at Day Spring Camp. She looks like a beautiful lady that was doing right by her children. All right. I am so glad that that the dog Buck was there. Now, this is his mom, Angel. Say a prayer that Angel Boley, she's never going to get Johnathan back, but that she gets the justice that she deserves for her son. She tried. All right. She tried to stop him. She made reports. She did everything she needed to do. And yet her son ended up dead. All right. All right. Let's keep going. We don't need to look into her too much, but I do want to show you the information on the father before we get too far into the press conference and such. All right. So let's take a look here. Hold on. I got the wrong one. Sorry. This is one of those cases where I have to, really dig deep and describe it to you, because there's a lot going on. And this is the first time I'm presenting this case that's been going on for, since last week or this weekend. All right. Kristen Perry, thanks for all your hard work for us. You're very welcome. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that super chat. All right. Look this is his record. I started digging in because I could not find what happened here. What's up, Casey Case? How you doing? All right. So I kept hearing that this guy has information about him. He has a record. He's a piece of trash. So I looked it up, and thank you to Abby Blabby, True Crime News on Facebook. More info. Johnathan Boley's mother, Angel Boley, who I just showed you, filed a protective order against his father, Jameson, back in 2021. And she said she was worried he would kill her or the children. I wondered why he was only given 5 days of visitation per year. She said, I had such bad feelings about this. Now, I want you guys to understand that it makes no sense to give any person 5 days with the child that doesn't know them, right? That pisses me off to no end, that somebody would have this record, somebody would tell another person, put a protective order, tell the judge that they want to kill you or the children, and give them 5 days. Why would they give that little boy to some weirdo meth addict, pipe bomb making dude for 5 days? the judge absolutely dropped the ball, right? And I see that more and more as I look at this protective order and I say, what in the hell? All right, let me get back to this. Sorry. All right. All right, so we've got it's right here, guys. If you don't see it, if the judge didn't see the petition for protection specifically from Jameson, and they gave him 5 days. You know, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm telling you, I'd probably have to run out of the country with baby guilty, because I'd either run out of the country with baby guilty or I'd stay married forever until my child grew up, because I would not be able to hand my child over for 5 days to some meth producing, bomb pipe making, booby trap piece of trash. Sorry, guys, I get heated. Jamie Brown, thank you for being a member for a month. Yes. Blue Giraffe, yes. They didn't do anything. All right, Lori, good to see you. Happy New Year, my friend. MM Clark, big hugs. Mama Pearl, love you always. All right, let's take a look at the protection order, guys, really quickly. Petition for protection order. Clearly, you see that from Angel Boley versus Jameson Kyle Boley, the father. All right, so we got everything we need to. We've got Highway 195, the address, and Jasper, Alabama. Okay, this is in 2021. She didn't do anything wrong. She filled it out. The age at the time was 27 years old for Angel. All right. She filled this out. Now, look, it talks about the abuse. What abuse happened? There's additional lines, and it says 12, 22, 21 over our residents. I'm sorry. They described the defendant's actions. He put his hands around my throat and he held me down and threw me into the kitchen into the kitchen island, and then he choked me until I couldn't breathe. And then he sat down, or came holding my arms down. Maybe he sat and hold my arms down. And then it says, genuinely fear the defendant will. And it says, I'm worried he will do all of the above again to me or our children, and potentially kill one of us. All right. If that doesn't give you a huge red flag, she did that 5 years ago, guys, to protect her children. 5 years ago, he got 5 days of visitation, and it's telling you that he choked her out and then held her hands, and she fears he'll do that to her or the children. Nope, they still hand the little guy over. All right, still no problem. What's up, Wyatt? Good to see you, my friend. How you doing? All right, so let's keep going on this. This makes me mad. You see the report. You can't unsee it. May you rest in peace, little buddy. Again, he looks so similar to his older brother. All right, there's the picture I used on the thumbnail. Right, and there is one of the pictures. This is his dad, Jameson. Right, you'll see other pictures of him shortly via the arrest. All right, so that's information about the father that I'm gonna give you right now. There's still more. He's got a preliminary hearing coming up, and we can do a lot more into this, but we won't, because I want you guys to know what happened. I want you to know what happened to little John. Holly, thank you for the $1.99 super sticker. I'll say choo choo. Thank you, girl. Appreciate you. You guys thank Holly for me. Appreciate it. All right, let's get into. I want you to see the dad real quick. The rest of the dad. It's Bestie 77. Oh, this is my new account. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Bestie. What's up? Good to see you. Thank you. Happy New Year, my friend. Very happy New Year to you. All right, let's take a look at this real quick. Again, they haven't put much of an episode of anything together, so it's a lot of bits and pieces, which, hey, I'm happy to put them together for you. So let's quickly look at the father. We just looked at his past. We looked at the protective order. I've heard rumors that not only is he a violent meth addict who makes pipe bombs, booby traps, and does meth, but he's also a dangerous pedophile, from what I'm told. Now, I don't have the record of that. I don't have a record that says he's a pedo, but I'm looking for it, and I have heard rumors. All right, so let's keep going. Yeah, look at all the pictures. He was loved. He absolutely was loved. Absolutely. All right. So here's this piece of trash father that did everything he could to win the loser dad of the year award. Okay. This was yesterday. Father arrested amid investigation into child's tragic death. This is the father of 4-year-old Johnathan Boley. I'm not going to read all this because we went over it, but during the search last week, authorities found, and I wish they would say this, during the second day of the search last week, authorities found illegal explosives and drugs leading to Jameson's Boley's arrest. Now you can see that right here. This is why I said booby traps, pipe bombs, and meth, because Johnathan Boley had illegal explosives that he was making, as well as making methamphetamines and drugs, right? All right. According to jail records, the boy's 40-year-old father was booked into jail on last Friday at 3:15 p.m. A Walker County court document showed Johnathan Boley had been charged with 2 counts of chemical endangering a child by allowing John and his brother to have the opportunity to be exposed to, ingest, inhale, or have contact with a controlled substance. Now, maybe, guys, just maybe he got into that and ingested something, and his dad panicked and took him out there to dump it. We don't know. We haven't got toxicology back. There's no signs of assault or trauma. He didn't get choked or punched or any of that. There's no defensive wounds. And Coey, what's up? Do me a favor. Send me an email. guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. All right. I'm always down for people that have information. All right. It happened in Alabama, my friend. Alabama. All right. Dangerous man. That's an understatement. I appreciate that understatement. Now, look, a lot of people I don't think realized that he was producing methamphetamines and bombs, right? Now, when you look at this, it clearly tells you a controlled substance that John and his brother could have ingested or inhaled or had contact with, and they go on to say, namely, methamphetamine. Right here in bold red, methamphetamine. On December 31st, guys, Highway 733, Highway 195 Road, a note attached to the booking documents requested a hold for agency, which the Walker County Sheriff's Office. Now, we wanted him to be out of Walker County once Johnathan was found, and he was notified. We allowed family to go to Blount County and make notification in person. Now, Walker County Sheriff Nick told the media, and this is going to be the guy that I think you're going to hear from a lot. Sheriff Nick announced Friday that Boley's son, Johnathan, who went missing on New Year's, had been found deceased. The boy's body reportedly found partially in a body of water with their family lab buck, who was alive and dutifully waiting next to the deceased child. Now, authorities to this point believe that the child's death was not a result of foul play. Jonathan's brother Isaac, which we now know, Johnathan and Isaac, had told searchers that he had last seen his brother and the dog wandering toward the woods at the edge of their father's property. All right, now we know the names Johnathan and Isaac on the father's property. Now, the boy's parents are separated, like we talked about, and the children were up in Florida, where the mother Angel lives, and then to visit the father over holidays. 5, right? 5 of them. So there you go. That's that. What a piece of shit, right? All right, let me I wanted to find that the drone one. Team coverage, missing county boy found 3 days ago. Where did the drone coverage go? Yeah, this is I'm gonna put this up, and then I'll find you the drone coverage, and then we're gonna get into the dirty details of his body and the case. All right, by the sheriff. I can't stand when the internet gets like this because I have to make you guys wait. Yeah, it could have been hypothermia. The sheriff said the dog was spotted first and then led them to John. And then you get reports that the dog was waiting by John and they brought the sheriff there. So we don't know exactly, but we're going to listen to that press conference in hopes that we're going to get more details. But I do have the more details about his body and the fact that there was a day, the first freaking 24 to 48 hours was delayed. And then I'll show you the drone.
Hey guys, so a press conference just wrapped up when it comes to the case of 4-year-old Johnathan Everett Boley out of Jasper, Alabama. This morning, an autopsy was performed on Jonathan's body. Sheriff Nick Smith did confirm that there were no signs of trauma to his body, nor were there any type of assault injuries on him. So preliminarily, there are no signs of foul play when it comes to his passing. Remember, he was found January 2nd, 2026. Sheriff Smith said that he was found around 12:55 that afternoon by a volunteer who actually found Buck, the dog, first. Remember, Buck was missing alongside Johnathan. It was believed that Johnathan, at least from what his brother stated, followed Buck into the wooded area before disappearing. This volunteer searcher said that the dog essentially led them to this body of water, which he said was a creek about 4 feet deep where Johnathan...
All right, so now you're getting more information. And for the person that said that the dog led him to the little boy, absolutely right. And not only that, the dog was there the entire time they were searching, could have brought the rescue crew over there. But now you're going to hear about how it stopped. Now, Mabel, the justice system is getting worse across America. Today, I put my flag up. And when I looked at the flag, I said, man, we need to do better. This country as a whole needs to do better. All right, period. All right. That could have happened on day one. Exactly, Mo. Exactly. That could have happened on day one had they not had to stop and scale it down. But instead, they brought FBI in, and this is what happened. I feel so bad for the pup. I would have adopted him. Were they looking for somebody to adopt the puppy or the dog? All right, let's keep going.
Jonathan's body was found partially submerged. I mean, how touching is that? The dog essentially stayed with Johnathan to ensure that he would be found. Now, right now, Jamison Boley, Jonathan's father, is only being charged with the things that we have discussed prior, charges pertaining to the explosives, as well as chemical endangerment of a child, which, if found guilty, could land him behind bars anywhere between 2 years to 99 years. While questions were being asked, Sheriff Nick Smith was essentially asked if the fact that Jonathan's dad had explosives on the property negatively impacted their search for Johnathan, and he said, yeah, of course. You know how delayed things were because they needed to stop and clear the scene? I mean,
did you hear that? They had to stop the first 48 hours and clear the scene to make sure that there were no explosives or chemicals that would kill these searchers. All right. And we're going to hear that next, because when we listen to that little 15-minute press conference, boy, does it give you a lot.
And had they not needed to do that, it's possible that Johnathan could have been found much sooner. It's possible that he could have even maybe been found alive. Jonathan's official COD is still pending further testing. Based on those results, it is possible we could see more charges in this case brought about. But right now, this is all that we have. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments. My thoughts and prayers are with Jonathan's family.
All right, so you guys heard that. You heard that loud and clear. Stopping this and asked in the press conference was, did stopping this delay the finding of the body, which could have happened, by the way, on day one, but it didn't because they had to clear the area for this. Ugh. It makes me so mad, you guys, and I just really need them. I want them. I hope you guys all are with me, that people in that area push, if it's not being pushed toward Jamison, that they push and charge him to the fullest. At this point, he's not even charged in the death, and with no signs of trauma or assault found, they might not even charge him for the death at all, which means that he would be out after serving his time for the little bit that they charged him for. Right now, the press conference will tell you about the assault and the trauma and everything else. But I just want you to take a look at the area. Now, you guys can't imagine. Not One Man's Trash is asking me, can a child that age walk that far? Yeah, a child can walk 2 miles for sure. A 4-year-old, 5-year-old easily can walk 2 miles. No problem. I see kids go on hikes with their family and whatever. 2 miles isn't going to be that detrimental if they have the right clothes and, water and whatever. So let's take a look at the drone footage of them and talking about his body being found.
WBRC drone video of the home and part of the area in Walker County where 4-year-old Johnathan Boley was last seen. Again, his body found this afternoon. Sheriff Nick Smith thanking hundreds of people who have been volunteering looking for Boley.
This is the ending no one wanted. Your reporter Brady Talbert has been following this story for us. He joins us live from Walker County now as the people who have been there following the story, and many of them in the search efforts, grieving right now. Brady.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is right, Taylor.
Now, listen, his body was found in a pond that was about, I think they said 4 feet deep, did they say? Something like that. He was only partially submerged in the water, which can either mean drowning or it could have been hypothermia. I don't suspect it's starvation at that point because it was only day 3. All right. So I hope you're not confused anymore. And a lot of people, is the first time they've heard about this case because it hasn't been out there. It's just been searching. And now his body was found.
A lot of people here are grieving, family and friends, grieving the loss of 4-year-old Johnathan Boley. And as you can imagine, it's a lot on his mother right now. We actually just learned in the past couple of minutes, she does not want to talk about it, as so many in Walker County are hurting right now. We do want to take you live inside to give you a look at a prayer vigil that's happening in less than an hour now, a place to support this grieving family. Johnathan, or John's body was found about 2 miles from the home he went missing from. His dog Buck, who was also missing, was found alive beside him, according to the sheriff. Cornerstone Assembly of God Church served as a hub for first responders and volunteers throughout this long 2-day search process. The church family even trying to help Johnathan's family with housing and food this week. They say several churches are coming together tonight to pray at their building.
Learned the news that the boy is deceased, but he's been found. And what I want us to do is still hold it, come together. We have several pastors, several churches from the community coming together, and we're going to.
I think this little boy had an amazing life with his mom and his brother, and I think the judge absolutely screwed up big time and should have never gave him any type of custody. And I hope that he's being brought. All right, I hope he's being brought to. He's accountable. He's brought to justice on this because so many people care about this little boy. We all do, and his dad just pissed his son's life away, and the second child in his care that has been deceased. You guys, that's not a coincidence, all right?
Just a time of healing, a time of prayer, a time of counseling. So there's a lot of emotions in this.
And that prayer vigil, again, is happening in less than an hour right here at Cornerstone Assembly of God.
All right, well, I do have that, but I'm not going to play that right now. I want to show you the press conference, and I don't like that. This is just spinning and spinning, so I might have to play it from here. All right, so this is the no signs of trauma, Johnathan Boley. Let's just watch. Let's get this, because you guys are going to get all the details I think you might need about what happened to him and his body and the search. All right. Hold on. I have it downloaded on YouTube, but it won't play for some reason. So, all right, we're going to go through here. And it only goes up to one side, I think.
Sheriff Nick Smith. I just want to provide an update on the Johnathan Boley case that took place on New Year's Eve. So where we're at is on Wednesday, December 31st at around 12:28 p.m. Walker County Sheriff's Department received a call about a missing 4-year-old child. Deputies arrived on the scene along with RPS and cleared the residence around 1:02.
All right, guys. So at the very beginning of this episode, the first 25 to 30 minutes, I just went over the dad's history. And in the history that they say there was another child in his possession that was also deceased. All right. They did not name the child. It is a child, but you got to go back and watch the first 30 minutes if you missed it. We just went over all of that about the father and the reports and what he's done and etc. All right. Let me hit play.
Once they made sure that the child wasn't in the house, we immediately called for air support from Aaliyah. State K-9s were there as well to start the searching process. At approximately 12:55 on Friday, January the 2nd, Johnathan, which is known as John, was recovered. at the scene by a search group that was volunteering. They were in their assigned grid when John was recovered partially in a body of water. Once John and Buck was found, I requested the assistance of the FBI and SBI to work alongside our deputies to work the scene. They spent Friday, most of the day Saturday, processing and working the scene. They vacated the command post at Cornerstone Church, and I want to thank Cornerstone Church for allowing us to use their facilities last week. Sunday, they worked out of their respective field offices to follow up and put everything that we've worked on.
You guys don't forget to hit that like button and share with your community. If you guys missed the beginning, it's definitely worth it to go back and watch it. People are asking questions like, who's the mother? What happened with the father? I went over all of that. Angel Boley's the mother, but you won't appreciate what I'm saying without seeing what I'm telling you earlier. So go back, watch the first 30 minutes or finish this and then go back. Croy, ABC, it's tragic. The saving grace is they did find him so he can be properly laid to rest. My thoughts and prayers are with his mom and family. The father should at least face negligent death.
Thus far together. This morning, Sergeant Pugh, SBI, and federal agents were present for an autopsy this morning. We do not have an official cause of death, but we can rule out that there was no signs of trauma or assault type injuries. Anything official will be pending further testing. We're committed to being transparent as possible.
You can see that this is killing him to have to say this and announce it. He stops a little bit and kind of, and I'm not speeding it up. We're just listening to it
as we can during this entire process. Kind of to talk about the father, Jamison Kyle Boley, and the charges that he had that stems from this investigation was on December 31st, Jamison Kyle Boley was arrested and charged with unlawful manufacture of a destructive device.
He's not 5 Clark. It doesn't matter if he's 4 or 5. I'm not going to get stuck on that, but every record corrects it and says that he was 4. Maybe he was going to be 5, and that's a confusion. But either way, 4 or 5. This is in Alabama, my friends, right here, Alabama. All right,
which is a Class B felony. He was also charged with chemical endangerment of a child on 2 counts, which are Class C felonies. These charges are separate and totally separate from
nothing to do with
John. And also, I want to say that Mr. Boley is presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
These charges doesn't mean that he is guilty until he's proven guilty. Once the investigation is complete and we have an official cause of death, everything will be compiled and we will give it to the district attorney for review. Is anybody?
Now, this was yesterday, January 5th, 2026. All right. The people are going to start asking questions as well.
Have any questions?
Why is the father in Blount County?
We moved in Blount County anytime. It's not uncommon for sheriffs across the state when they have high profile cases and things of that nature to send the individual out of county or to another facility. We have several inmates that are Walker County inmates that are in different county jails throughout the state that are being housed just to keep people separated and so forth. We have several inmates that are from other counties as well. So we kind of switch and swap just to kind of keep high profile cases separated from their home county.
In terms of the autopsy, still the results are not in, but would it be safe to assume that there's a possibility of things like that the boy fell off a ridge or fell off into some water or something like that?
Obviously I don't want to speculate on what the cause of death may or may not be. All I can say is that from what was done this morning, that we can rule out the fact that there was no trauma and there was no assault type.
Now, remember this as we continue covering this case, they didn't find assault or trauma to this boy externally, but they don't have and they haven't released toxicology or anything else that might have been going on. I mean, it's still a possibility. It's not out of the realm of possibility to think that something happened in that household. He ingested something and dad set this up, right? You could never ever predict what a meth addict or a drug addict, or especially someone that's producing that stuff, what they will do. All right. Boston supports Lana. Good to see you. Hello. All right. Let's keep going.
Injuries and anything else would require further testing.
Do you know how long he had been deceased?
They did not provide that this morning in the initial conversation. I mean, they just got through concluding.
On Friday, you called for privacy for the family. Since then, there's been a lot of chatter on Facebook, maybe even potential misinformation. What's your message to the community right now?
First off, I want to say that I'm very proud of Walker County. I'm very proud of the people who came out and showed this family support. I mean, I've seen high school kids come out. I've seen grandpas and grandmas come out. I just ask that you show the family respect.
Damn, he's getting all teary-eyed, and you can't blame him. I'm sure he saw Jonathan's body as a result.
You mentioned he was partially in a body of water. Can you kind of describe what type of body of water that was?
It was, I guess the best way to describe it is kind of a creek, but it pulled up to, there was an area that was pulled up. Not sure whenever he was in it, at what level it was in, because obviously Friday we experienced rain, but Saturday morning when we measured it, it was around 4 foot deep.
Was it a volunteer type team that had found it?
So it was 4 foot deep. What's up, Ebony? Good to see you, my friend. Now, Sue Lawson, they did not give that information just yet. So we don't know if he died of drowning or hypothermia or something even more nefarious. So right now we're hearing what we hear. This came out yesterday. This little guy was found, but he was found too late, in my opinion. I think they could have found him already. They could have found him alive had they not stopped the search.
Was it a professional law enforcement or who?
Yes.
So, obviously we had law enforcement, we had hundreds of volunteers come out. So EMA did a fantastic job of mapping out everybody's search patterns and grid patterns. So this was a volunteer group of pure volunteers that were assigned a certain section to search, and during their search, they recovered John.
And you mentioned that.
And welcome to the channel, Nina and Shane Lara. You guys, come on in, hit that like button, get those notifications out. They were outside when the youngest brother disappeared. Yes, the older brother was outside when the younger brother disappeared, and he saw him walking off with the dog. Is what I think that's what he recalls, but we don't know if that happened in that time frame. But he did say the last time he was seen was with the dog walking off. So I mean, we can't completely rule out that the dad didn't take his body there at some point, but that's what the older brother said, and he's old enough, I believe. I think he's a couple years older. I saw him on the scene. If Johnathan Boley was 4, going to be 5, then the other child is probably 6, maybe 7.
The dog was found with him alive. Was the dog just hanging around that area, or can you describe?
One of the volunteers I spoke to said they saw the dog first, and the dog kind of led them back to where John was.
In regards to the father, can you specify what types of drugs were found in the home?
Methamphetamine.
And then, as far as the dog.
She asked what type of drugs were found in the home. Now, guys, the search was suspended on the first day. I'm sorry, the second day. He went missing December 31st, 2025, which is New Year's Eve. All right. From December 31st to January 1st, they had local, county, and state law enforcement with volunteers, K9 teams, and aerial assets, including drones, to search the wooded area. He was ultimately only found 2 miles away. But because on January 1st, they had to suspend the search due to finding booby traps and pipe bombs, they discovered there was explosive devices and other hazardous materials near the area where they were searching. So they brought the FBI in to secure the scene, and they shifted it to a specialist-led response after that. And then the next day, they find his body. Right? Again, most important time is the first 48 hours. Once you get to 72, you're usually looking for a body.
And all, do you think the dog stayed with the child? Is that the expectation?
It-
Or maybe led him that far away because he was a couple of miles away?
It appears that way, that the dog was with him the whole time.
When was the boy found, as far as 1 o'clock,
The dog was with him the whole time, you guys.
1:30? Because I know
It was at 12:55 is what EMA reported this morning, that the volunteer group found it on January the 2nd.
What was the volunteer group? I mean, you got a whole group of volunteers, obviously going to look for him, but not probably expecting to see what they saw. How are they dealing with it?
I spoke with him shortly in a room. They were shook up. Obviously, you come out to do a good deed, and when you get there, you may have thought that you have fully prepared yourself for what you might come across, and obviously they were shooken up. I think they had to call paramedics to one female searcher who was having a panic attack. So obviously, keep them in your prayers.
Wow, he was having a panic attack. Now, guys, listen, they had a full-on search. If you weren't watching this already on TV, they had thermal imaging, which is extremely reliable in these conditions, and they didn't show signs of Johnathan in the beginning. Now, since 8 a.m., the FBI had been inside the home, and they were working to clear and process his property. Authorities confirmed that the presence of multiple booby traps and explosive devices were not only inside the home, guys, but they were in the surrounding land where the kids were walking and playing. Also, a nearby neighbor who monitors the area on a regular basis with hunting cameras says he regularly sees the black lab buck, with the last confirmed sighting of the day after Christmas. All right, now multiple neighbors reported hearing what sounded like an explosion around 4 a.m. the day after Christmas, with similar sounds noted in the weeks leading up. All right, Jonathan's father, Jameson, guys, maybe this might make more sense for you, possibly. He's an ex-military guy. All right, so he would have knowledge of making bombs and weapons and explosives. Officials have confirmed the explosives were also found across the roadway from the house. Sources indicate he was granted 5 days per year of visitation, right? And Johnathan was 4 years old at the time, not 5. All right. As soon as they called the search, Jonathan's mom arrived that night to begin. And due to the extreme danger posed by the explosives, all the civilian search efforts had been suspended for safety reasons. And that's when I thought they found his body. All right. But it was actually the next day. So what happened was Johnathan Boley's father was arrested, and they continued the search after they found all that. All right. They continued the search for another day. They told us no live explosive had been found on the property. And they stated there's evidence that they have some type of bomb and materials that he's making, maybe one that exploded on the property. The neighbors said there have been a lot of explosions in that neighborhood. So prior to them being there the morning before, they got out of there because of the explosions. Right. The Sheriff Nick confirmed that 8 items found on the neighboring properties, initially believed to be potential explosive devices, and those were examined by FBI and determined to not be explosive devices. So he made them look like they were, but they weren't, some of them. Now, the FBI has completed explosives related operations at the home, and then they stopped searching. So not good.
They're good. Like I said, there's, two guys, Sergeant Pugh and Captain Legg. I can't commend them enough for the work that they've done. I'm not sure that they ever went home until John was found.
How are you doing?
It's a challenge. Like I said, I've never been through anything like this, and I hope that, that no family has to go through anything like this. But if you do, I think that one thing that we have to be proud of Walker County, and the fact that that's where I'm proud of, is because of the support that they showed this family. And I hope that support don't stop. I hope that support continues in the days to come. It doesn't just stop just because John was found.
A strange question, but how was the father informed? He didn't just watch a stream or anything like that?
No, we took him to Blount County. I arranged with the sheriff of Blount County to let the family go make that notification in person.
And him moving to Blount County, is that for his safety?
It's just general, just to keep him separated from the county and people he may know here in the jail.
Now, I see a lot of people asking questions about, what are you saying, Jay? What do you mean there's a second child that was no longer alive in his possession, right? Well, allegations of abuse from the mother, Jonathan's mom, Angel, said that there was a secondary report that claimed a past incident that occurred with Jameson, that he fled the state, guys, after another child in his care was found unresponsive and later passed away from a heart contusion. So that could mean anything. A heart contusion could mean anything, or it could mean they could have ruled it natural. I don't know, but he wasn't locked up for it, but he fled because the child was unresponsive and later died. All right, I hope that helps.
And I know that you guys had thermal imaging up, around the clock essentially. Some people are asking how possibly the dog was missed on thermal imaging. Can you explain that?
I can't really explain that because that's not my area of expertise. We called out every resource that we had available. We had multiple aviation divisions from Jefferson County, Aaliyah, Coleman City. We had drone operators from several search and rescue groups. I can't answer that question.
It's early, but have you learned any lessons from this investigation in terms of how to do this kind of search better down the road?
Obviously, I think once we get all of our information back and we get to review everything and get to really sit down and think, we can, you're always going to find things that you can do better. There's no doubt.
And again, I don't see any arrest efforts. I don't see any kind of charges. So although a contusion can be a punch or trauma to the chest, we don't know what that means. It can be bruising of some sort. He could have been on his bike. He could have fell off of his bike onto the handlebar. We just don't know what that means. So I don't want to speculate and say anything because I didn't find any kind of documentation to allude to the fact that he was that he fled over that. So I didn't see charges. All right. What's up, Okie Crime News? How you doing?
About that, but obviously as well, this presented challenges. Where we're at, and the lifestyle that's
not organic,
taking place in the home with explosive devices and things of that nature, obviously created challenges that we, wouldn't necessarily ready to see. And so it was much more than just blazing through the woods looking for a child. It presented challenges.
Guys, he was 2 miles away. All right. Just remember that when they found the dog, when the dog led the rescuers to little Jonathan's body, it was 2 miles roughly from the house. All right. And you know what, Connie? It's crazy that you say that because I had a friend that his firstborn son died from just that. Right? No, nothing, just out there riding his bike. He flipped off the handlebars and the handlebar went to his stomach. My friend took him to the hospital where he later died. All right. So you don't know exactly what that is. We don't know exactly why unless we see the paperwork.
The delay because of that finding explosive.
The delay was search was delayed around the residence. There's a lot of misinformation out there. The delay was not delayed for a search that other than the immediate area of the house. Now, the following day, once you got across the road, several volunteers were reporting and mapping that they thought they had found some type of explosive devices. So obviously we had to delay searches in that particular area.
Delay
across the street until the bomb techs for the FBI could finish clearing the house and then make their way to assess those.
You guys just heard they lost almost a complete full day. The first 24 hours they searched, the next 24 to 48 hours they had to clear the areas of bombs. All right, Jack Stormo, member for 14 months. Thank you. So sad. Prayers for all who love that sweet baby. You're absolutely right. And yeah, we have to wait for the full autopsy report, but preliminarily, guys, we know that they found him in a body of water. It was only about 4 feet deep, and he was only partially submerged. All right, let's keep going.
Potential hazards, which they were cleared to not be explosive material.
And do you know the devices that you found? Pipe bombs? How would you describe them? Fireworks?
They weren't fireworks.
They were fireworks, y'all.
I'm not an expert when it comes to bombs and explosives, but the people who are experts said there was enough to level the entire house.
I know y'all got the call on Wednesday.
No, he did not deny stopping the search. He added, in addition, people were asking if, and I don't think he wants to take that responsibility. He kind of vaguely answered, yes, they stopped the search to clear the area. And somebody said, did that hinder finding him? And he said, yeah, probably. I mean, right? It would have. Baby could have fallen in the mud if he couldn't get up, right? Hey, Deb, maybe Buck pulled him out of the water. Yeah, we don't know.
Do you know how long they were missing prior to y'all getting notified?
Sir, you repeat that again?
Yeah, I know y'all got the call on Wednesday.
Yes.
Do you know how long he was missing prior to y'all getting that notification?
There was a delay. Obviously, we weren't called as immediately as he went missing. If I'm taking the information that I have at face value, I mean, I'm sure that he did like any parent would do. You'd spend 30 minutes, an hour or so trying to find your child.
And then,
so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that that's what happened, that he was trying to find him on his own. But obviously, one thing back to Ed's question is in situations like that, because the father was doing his own search and things in the wood, which obviously doesn't help the tracking of, using canines and trying to track the child once, we got notified.
The explosions that the neighbors had heard for several weeks on end, have we been able to tie those explosions with the father in terms of the material that he had?
We have not.
With as many agencies that were involved, the chaplains of organizing the search, who led the search, organizing?
Yeah, so obviously, I contacted, as soon as we got on the scene, we contacted the FBI state, got everybody in, contacted Regina with EMA. She came out, she did her thing and got as many.
Everybody did all the right things, and the fact that they found him in the area that they did with that dog that led them to him. I mean, this just really is a heartbreaking case. There's no other way to say it.
Resources, fire departments, and things as we could. She set up the incident command center at the church, and then we just started working and kind of rolling from there, organizing everything, organizing everybody in searches and where they needed to go.
Can you speak to how much she did? Because that's her name has come up several times today about how much she did in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I can't thank Regina enough for the job that she did helping organize. It's one less thing that I had to worry about because I knew that she was doing a good job.
Do we know what the father's intentions were with the explosives? Was that like a hobby or?
Right. You know what? Before he even says what he thinks the intentions are, I'm going to tell you right now. You guys, we cover a lot of these cases where I say one word caused this. One word, 4 letters, meth. All right. If this guy, I'm going to tell you, if this guy was making it, he was distributing it, or not even maybe he was just making it for his own, producing it for himself. He was probably paranoid that people were going to rob him. So he set up a perimeter with pipe bombs to trick them, because not only did he have pipe bombs, but he had these weird booby traps around too. That, you step on this and this goes. He did all that, and I'm thinking that he was methed up, right? He was methed up and he was getting paranoid. That's what I think, but let's hear what he says.
I think he had told at one point, he had told an investigator that he knew that what he was handling and stuff was dangerous, but he didn't, he just was at the point where he didn't care anymore.
And he had a military background, right?
Yes.
Military.
What type of explosives?
I don't know the name of them. I don't want to misquote it or misstate it.
Were they just one type of explosive, or were they several different types?
I don't know the answer to that. Any other questions?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. All right, so we're out of there. Let's just take a look. We watched the press conference. We went over everything. Boley's father. We had a couple more. Father of him has a preliminary hearing, and then we're gonna take a look at the quick vigil. And yeah, thank you guys for being here. Hit that like button. Get this in the algorithm, would you? Also, I hope that you guys do. If you're new here, I hope that you stay. I hope you come back. All right, let's listen about the preliminary hearing and when that's coming. What's next for this father, Jameson?
Out of Walker County, a preliminary hearing date has been set for Jameson Boley. He's the father of 4-year-old Johnathan Boley, who was found dead last Friday after he'd been missing.
This morning, the Boley family is expressing their gratitude to the community. Many volunteered to help in the search for the missing child. Now, they released a statement saying, in part, quote, "The love and compassion that our family has been shown."
I mean, guys, this case is probably the best case scenario of what could happen to a child that wanders off, right? Best case scenario. Had he not had those damn bombs and making the chemicals, I swear they would have probably found him. You guys hear me? You hear what I'm saying, right? 24 hours in, they set up search. By 48 hours, they stopped. And then 72 hours, they found his body. Take back that last 24 hours that they had to waste time. And there you go. Thank you, Michelle. Glad you're here. Truth Seeker Jacqueline, yes, you made it. Hit that like button if you like how I present true crime.
Has been overwhelming. There are way too many people to name individually, but please know we saw you, we love you, and we can never thank you enough for helping us find our boy. In a news conference Monday, Walker County Sheriff Nick Smith says the missing 4-year-old's body was found partially in a body of water, but the cause of death is still unknown. Smith says the autopsy report did not find any signs of trauma or assault.
You see?
The best way to describe it is kind of a creek, but it pulled up to, there was an area that was pulled up. Not sure whenever he was in it, at what level it was in, because obviously Friday we experienced rain, but Saturday morning when we measured it, it was around 4 foot deep.
The preliminary hearing is scheduled for January 20th. Smith says as of right now, additional testing still needs to be done to determine a cause of death for Johnathan Boley.
All right, so you guys heard that right now. There's no trauma. There's no trauma or physical signs of abuse at this point. And like I said, he was found in a partial body of water. Let's take a look at him being honored in Florida. Remember, his mom, Angel, lived in Florida and brought him to Alabama, right? The custody said only 5 times a year, and that's what she was doing. She wasn't happy about it, though.
The death of their 4-year-old son. Johnathan Boley was found dead Friday while visiting his father in North Alabama. And tonight, a community came together in prayer. Fox 13's Jennifer Vaglis takes us to a vigil at the boys' church.
The Church of the Apostles and Dayspring Summer Camp.
Yeah, it's crazy, Truth Seeker, because the dog not only stayed with him, but when the search and rescue were coming up, he actually led them right to him. So yeah, he stayed with him. And like I said, that little bit of time they lost is a whole lot in the first 72 hours. 100% agree with you. He'd have been found had it not been them having to stop and look for things that go boom and the booby traps. Yeah, they completely stopped and they cleared the area to make sure that none of the rescuers, law enforcement, any of those people would be hurt. All right. What's up, Janet? Good to see you, my friend.
Here in Parrish say their community is like family. And this week, they lost one of their own, 4-year-old Johnathan Boley, who they lovingly called John John. Come as you are. Grieve however you need to grieve.
For so many of us, our hearts are broken over this tragic loss.
Whether it's hugs, prayer, or song. To cope with the loss of 4-year-old Johnathan Boley.
I think at times like this, there are those who need to be here to be with other people because grief can be very lonely.
Sunday evening, that was the invitation from the Church of the Apostles.
Now, guys, this is already a sad case, but this happened so quickly, right? Just 5 days ago, you and I were all counting down till New Year's, right? Happy New Year. And at that time, this little guy went missing. All right. You got day one, got the search, very confident he's going to be found. Day two, they call off the search. I'm thinking, oh, he was found, but he wasn't. They had to clear the area. And by day 3, they already found his body. We're only on the first week, the actual work week. Oh man, that happened fast. I am glad that they found him and brought him home to lay him to rest, but just 4 years old, this should not have happened.
Apostles and Dayspring to its members at its labyrinth. Dayspring is where John John's mom, Angel Boley, works as director of guest services. Together, moving to Parrish 1 year ago from Alabama.
All who knew him here at Dayspring loved him.
The toddler went missing while visiting his father, 40-year-old Jameson Boley, for the holidays in Jasper, Alabama. On New Year's Eve, the boy and his black lab mix named Buck were last seen walking the fence line of the property. For nearly 3 days, the Walker County Sheriff's Office deploying thermal.
So there you go. It was nearly 3 days. If you take away, hold on. Sorry. If you take away 1 day or 24 hours, now you see day 3. First 72 are crucial. First 48 are the most crucial.
Imaging drones, choppers, canines, and dive teams at nearby ponds.
See, that's not that area. When you look at that, it's actually not super rough terrain like some places that I see when they're searching. It's like right at your ankles, right at your feet. You got branches, bushes. It's fairly clear in that area. And the fact that they had drones and search dogs leads me to believe they would have found him sooner. All right. And by day 3, he had already succumbed to maybe drowning, maybe hypothermia.
Volunteer groups also went out on foot.
I can't brag on volunteers enough and what you've done and what it means to me and what it means to the sheriff's department.
But on Friday, Sheriff Nick Smith confirmed the boy's body was found 2 miles from the home with the black lab still alive by his side. That same day, detectives found explosives in the home of Jameson Boley. He was arrested and charged with unlawful manufacturing of a destructive device and 2 counts of chemical endangerment of a child. Hours later.
And again, guys, I really hope they upgrade those charges. We're looking at what did they say? January 20th or so, where he's going to have a preliminary hearing. All right. This guy's a loser. This is the loser of the year. All right. Bad father, whatever you want to call him. The child seems to be missing a longer time, right? Seems to be, but not. This guy, man, look at this guy. You saw the pictures of him before, and then you look at it now. It's like, dude, you're messed up. Stop it.
Hours later, his church in Alabama holding a prayer service for the family, where he was described as adventurous, loving the outdoors.
That it's okay not to have it together. It's okay not
to walk around with a smile on your face.
Back home, Reverend William Hardy echoing a similar sentiment.
He was one of us, and we were his.
He says now it's all about unity and support.
People see themselves in this story and think, how in the world could this happen? How could this happen? How could innocent life be taken?
John's funeral will likely be up at the diocese in Alabama, but once his mom Angel is back in town, there will likely be another memorial for him here in parish.
All right, guys, let's take a look real quick at what the family says, and then they'll show a picture of the pipe bomb and the dog. All right, you guys, thank you for being here. Exactly what Mama Sage just said. And if you guys have anything to email me, my email is below, guiltyofcrimebyj@gmail.com. If you guys got cases, you guys know the drill. Send me cases at gmail.com. And it's always a trigger warning, right? All right, let's keep going. What are they saying? They're saying a lot about the dad, but I did that in the beginning. He has a record, and it's not a good one. Not a good one. All right. So you have to probably go back to like the first 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and it gives you the breakdown of the dad and the mom and everything else. All right, real quick.
Sheriff Nick Smith says Johnathan Boley was found with his father's dog, Buck. He was last seen leaving his father, James.
All right, there's the dog. A lot of you guys that don't even know this case or didn't hear it or see it didn't know that was the dog. It's a black lab. That guy, Buck, that dog, Buck, really did. I mean, that's just awesome. That, and when I heard that Johnathan Boley was found with his dog alive, I thought they were saying he was found alive with the dog. But no, the dog was found alive with his body. All right. And then they show a picture of a pipe bomb, too.
Last seen leaving his father, Jameson Boley's home with the dog on New Year's Eve. The search included hundreds of volunteers coming from all over Alabama. Police say it was made extremely difficult by explosive devices.
All right, so you see that? That's basically what they were finding. And some of those pipe bombs weren't even really pipe bombs. They were just like decoys so people wouldn't cross the line or whatever. I don't know what that dad was doing. Like I said, always one word, 4 letters, meth. All right. What's up, Only the Lolo? How you doing? I know, an amazing dog. That dog deserves an award.
Found in Jameson Boley's home.
We had to back out of the house due to some explosives materials inside the house that made it dangerous for law enforcement to continue a search of the residence.
Jameson Boley has been arrested and charged with unlawful manufacturing and chemical endangerment of a child. Police say as of now, his charges are not related to Jonathan's death.
Nope.
Like so many of you across our community, we're devastated, and we're devastated by this news.
Now, they had a few press conferences. They had one in the beginning where they told us why they stopped it. He's really done a good job. This team has done a good job of keeping us aware of what's happening. All right. I know. I wish we could send the pup a package. I wish we could help the family, and we probably can. I didn't see. Now, we didn't talk about a GoFundMe, but I'll let you guys know what they're doing.
Jonathan was an adventurous boy, and he loved the outdoors. I ask you to be respectful to the family.
That family includes Jonathan's aunt, Caitlin Gray. Before the news that Boley's body had been found broke, she sat down with CBS 42. She lovingly...
Right, there's the little boy. A lot of people asked or were questioning or making comments about his hair, saying his hair is pretty, or is that his hair? Yeah, he had long hair, long kind of curly-ish wavy hair, and so does his brother. All right, and that's why I think there was a little bit of confusion on site. Dolly was there. He saw Angel Boley come into the search and bring her other son that was his brother, and they look very similar. All right, such a beautiful little boy. May he rest in peace, guys.
Called him John and described him as an adventurous and loving child.
He is the funniest and sweetest and craziest little boy. Like I said, he's 9 months older than my daughter, and they when they play together so well, and he's all boy. You know, him and his brother both all boy, and he is so loving.
Again, you're going to see a lot of family coming out. He really did look to have a beautiful family that cared on the side of his mom. His dad, I don't know, we'll find out more as we go.
And he everybody loves him. Everybody.
The investigation into Boley's death is still ongoing. Police say they expect to release more updates in the future. Reporting in Walker County, Scott Mitchell, CBS 42 News.
All right, guys, we made it. What's up, everybody? Deborah just came in totally late. Says, I'm late and I don't know this case. Well, my friend, it's good to see you. I'm glad you made it, but we're done. And Kelly, what's up? How you doing? All right, guys. So, I mean, we've been here for an hour and 41 minutes. Did the explosives hinder finding Johnathan Boley alive? Is the question. 4-year-old Johnathan Boley found his body found and his dog beside him. All right. I'm not sure what he's going to be charged for. They did give a give a child endangerment charge, but that's not going to be the charge that makes things stick. It's going to have to be something that's connected to his death, because right now none of the charges have to do with him being not alive. Guys, what's up, Amethyst? How you doing? A lot of people just rolled in right now. What happened? Did another show just let's take a look real quick. So I was going to leave, but since y'all just rolled in real quick, let me do this. All right, just quickly. All right, so this is after Johnathan Everett Boley went missing, and it says, why was his father Jameson arrested after a 4-year-old's body was found? All right. Now, again, if you missed this whole episode, it's about Alabama authorities finding the body of 4-year-old Johnathan Everett Boley 2 miles from his home with his dog still alive beside him. All right. His father, Jameson Boley, was arrested on explosive related charges and child endangerment counts. All right. So that's that little boy. That's John. May he rest in peace. Again, none of the charges have to do with that. They located John, and he was deceased. Body was located, the dog next to him. He was last seen 11:30 Wednesday on New Year's Eve, and the Walker County received a missing child report around an hour later. All right. According to Sheriff Smith, Johnathan had been with, okay, there's the age. Johnathan, guys, had been with his 6-year-old brother. I was kind of just guessing on the age, right? About 2 years apart. So it actually clears that up. And it says he was with his brother. I get to the right page. Sorry. According to the sheriff, Johnathan was with his brother, his 6-year-old older brother, and their dog when he disappeared. The brother, luckily, was able to identify, guys, the last place where he saw Johnathan and the dog. And then, just a real quick backstory. Jonathan's parents are separated. The mother had moved to Florida last year. And under the custody agreement, the dad, Jameson, had the children for 5 days. So Jameson Boley was arrested, but he was not arrested for anything related to his son's death. It was a explosive related charge that had and has also been charged with 2 counts of chemical endangerment. He's also charged with unlawful manufacturing of a destructive vice. Sheriff Smith said the explosives were discovered on the father's property during the search for missing child. And law enforcement had to secure and take care of the devices before executing the search warrant. All right. So, that's it. The sheriff emphasized the explosives had nothing to do with the search. The officers described the father as being in the military and says it remains unclear why explosives were present. And then neighbors go in to talking about hearing explosions around there and hearing an explosion around 4 a.m. on the morning he went missing. Investigation into his death is ongoing, and authorities have not released further details about the circumstances surrounding his death or when he died, how or when he died. All right, guys. So I hope that did it for you. Thank you guys for coming in tonight. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share with your community. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Love you all. And I will see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Love you.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty of crime?